hate to interrupt the conversations you're having. But please do keep eating, and please pick up your conversations again later today. I want to welcome all of you to St. John's College, to our hot lunch for, what month are we in? March, I guess. We were really lucky today to have all of you here. Again, you know, each time we've had a hot lunch since the pandemic, whatever, if it didn't end, it trailed off or whatever it is that we're in the state now. It's wonderful to see you all here. How many of you have, is this your first hot lunch? Actually, not that. Okay, so a few of you are welcome, and we're going to share you as you're discovering this little secret that everybody else is here for, which is the good food and the good conversation, and to hear from someone important. So I want to first acknowledge that we are on the unceded ancestral traditional territory of the Hunkaminam people of Musqueam. Again, behind me is Salmon People by Musqueam artist Susan Point. The Musqueam flag sits behind us. And so what it means to be on unceded territory. I'm on the Campus Vision 2050 Community Advisory Committee, and it comes up. It's like, what does it actually mean? Is it empty words? Or do we really mean this acknowledgement in a way that's going to be instrumentalized in how we live and work and study at UBC? And so I think we're in a historical moment right now in our own history of dealing with our colonial past and present. So I welcome you as principal here. It's a great opportunity, and I'm going to give an intro that's a little strange. For those who've been here and experienced it, we normally introduce the individual person. But we have a case now where Deborah Buszard has already spoken, you know, here at Hot Lunch before in her role at the University of British Columbia, Okanagan, as someone who helped shape UBCO into existence and built a lot of the systems from scratch. And now we have this unique opportunity where she is interim president, or president pro tem, to use the fancy Latin tag. And so she's been generous enough to come here and talk about that moment we're in where, what is she doing? What is she thinking? What was she thinking leaving retirement? Like, literally, what are you thinking? You know? That was my first thought. It's like, what? But that's maybe a framing as an intro for again, the human aspect of this, which is we all can understand that she performed an amazing role in helping the University of British Columbia build the Okanagan campus. And now that she's down here at Point Grey on Musqueam territory, yeah, what does she see, and what are we in for here in her mind? So I think that's my intro for her, is to actually just, you know, why are we curious? What are we thinking? What is she thinking? So hopefully that's a way to actually begin a conversation. Welcome Deborah Buszard, and thank her for so generously coming today.
Well, hello everybody, and thank you very much for that warm welcome. Yeah, I have been here before. It's kind of interesting to come back and have a second kick at the can. Let me just say this is the second opportunity I've had to speak today. I spoke briefly at the athletic breakfast downtown. Now, were any of you there? Interesting crossover, eh? You are not the guys going to the athletic breakfast. It was an amazing event, 800 people plus, and I was probably one of the shortest people in the room. Because there's a heck of a lot of people there who are 7 foot tall, and really impressive. But great to see the diversity of UBC. Yeah, Henry's right. It was a bit of a surprise to be asked to come back. I was actually camping with my husband a long way away when I got a text asking if I'd speak to the board chair. This was in September. And I had been loving being retired. If anyone's coming up to that stage of thinking, it's awesome. But it is a huge honor to come back, and I was inspired to take on the challenge and give up my retirement activities, which I was enjoying, but I was inspired by Martha Piper, who some of you will remember. She came back and helped, and I was on the executive at that time, and it was truly wonderful that she gave her time to come back and help us through what was quite a challenging time at UBC. And so I felt that, not at all the same circumstances, but that I could come back and be a helpful member who had served on the executive for 8 years from that other campus. Can I say that being the principal of UBC Okanagan is perhaps driving the jet ski, thinking of the Okanagan. The jet ski, we're zipping around, you can make change happen very quickly. Coming to the Vancouver campus is more like joining the aircraft carrier, and it's a little slower to move, and it's obviously got a lot more history and a lot more weight in it. So it is an interesting second step for me. I will say I was astounded coming back, because bear in mind I left work in June of 2020. So I had just gone with everyone else through the first 3 months of COVID, and then I switched off my Zoom on the 30th of June and didn't look back. And you guys kept this place going. And you all worked in a completely transformed kind of environment. And amazingly, this ocean liner of a university kept going and kept doing the things it needed to do, and taught the students, and continued to do research. We were restricted, but there were many, many things that kept going. And I want to give a huge shout out and a thank you, because I know for many of you in the room, you were the backbone behind that all happening. And it was amazingly done. So thank you for that. Let's do that. That's channeling Santa. Yes. Shout out. It's so interesting now, though, to come back and to see the UBC that is so different. And it really has changed a lot. And in some ways it feels to me as if I've been away for a decade rather than for 3 years, to see the change that's happening. I think we're not, as people say, we're not out of it yet. We are in a transition. The next kind of things that we are going to be doing will be more out there, more collaborative, more engaged, and I do believe we will be more accessible because of the way we learn to be accessible across different platforms. And we'll see University of British Columbia not just as this place in Vancouver and that place in the Okanagan, but maybe more broadly as a system which has many physical and virtual presences. And I think that that's a really good step forward for us. And I will say just the word sorry. We have other things planned in our future. We can't see them all yet. It's going to be very different. And we're going to continue to do the amazing teaching and research and contributions to our communities that we've always done. I want to take a minute to highlight some of the great things that are happening now. And you may well know more about them than I do, because I've stepped into the middle of some of the stories. But let me just say we are about halfway through our major strategic plan, which you may remember is called Shaping UBC's Next Century. And I think we are about the halfway period through that decade. It's a plan that was focused on ensuring that we are a globally recognized leader in education, research, and innovation. And I would say that is a really important focal point for me, is that whatever else we may do, whatever might be our hot topic of the moment, that foundational emphasis on our excellence in the research and teaching is what is our purpose. And we have one single purpose, and that is to be a great research and teaching university. And that's the core. The plan is centered around various themes, which are inclusion, innovation, and impact. And we hope to create an environment where everyone will feel welcome and supported, And we are, I think, because of COVID now, really pushing the bounds of what that means to take it further out there. So we are tasked with turning those big ideas into reality. And I know that we are up to the task, and that although we've been tested, we've shown that we can continue to do it in what was really, truly an extraordinary once-in-a-lifetime situation. Developing new programs, creating new partnerships, making the campus more accessible and sustainable. We've continued to do it, and we will continue to do it. Let me mention another exciting thing, which is really out there now and was launched, I believe, in September. And that is the Forward fundraising campaign. You've probably seen the campaign highlights. This is an extraordinary campaign, $3 billion. And we are, I believe, halfway there in our vision. It's of course looking for funding to support students, our research activities, faculty and staff, as well as our community engagement. It's not just about fundraising. It's actually about what I think of as friend raising. It's an important piece for us to share the stories, to demonstrate the impact we have, and I encourage absolutely everyone to get engaged. I suspect that a few of you in here might be alumni as well. And we're very, very keen that our alumni will stay engaged and continue to feel that they are a part of the university family. My own personal view about how universities have their greatest impact is through the lives that the alumni live. The students who graduate from here going out to create families, be part of communities, to contribute to whether it's business or public life, in whatever way you contribute. UBC has helped make you the person you will be. That is how we have our impact. So what we do here is really important for that great impact going. Of course, I'd encourage all of you, particularly if you suddenly have a gigantic financial windfall, to remember us. Now, I'm going to talk on a couple of our priorities, and these are all of them hugely important, probably heard of them before. One of them, of course, is the Indigenous Strategic Plan, focusing on creating a more inclusive and respectful environment for Indigenous students, faculty, and staff. This is a critical step and probably the biggest thing that we as an institution can contribute to reconciliation. It's something that I'm very personally committed to and passionate about. I know how important our partnership with the Okanagan Nation was for the development of the Okanagan campus. And I know that we've made important strides in this area. We have a long ways to go. It is going to be a long way. Sustainability and climate action are another big priority for the university. And as you know, we're committed to reducing environmental impact and promoting sustainability across both of our campuses. The goal is to become a zero waste institution, and we're moving towards that, including investing in renewable energy, reducing carbon emissions, and implementing sustainable transportation options. I'm very excited to see the innovation in construction, which UBC has led, in particularly the use of wood in construction and our new building technologies. And there is an enormous opportunity for us to innovate more in those areas. And the third priority is, of course, equity, diversity, and inclusion. And let me say that diversity is essential to our community. We're committed to fostering an inclusive and equitable environment where everyone can thrive, and we will continue to prioritize this. My final priority, which I would want to mention, is one that is specific to this campus, and that is Campus Vision 2050. The plan is going to outline a roadmap for the future of this campus, and we will continue towards achieving the goals that are outlined in that plan. It's about creating a better UBC for the future, better transportation, more campus housing, more facilities, and becoming a campus which is more open to innovation, to community partnerships, to strengthening our research and partnering with industry. as we move it forward. If you haven't already done so, I would urge you to familiarize yourself with the Campus Vision 2050. There's a website, campusvision2050.ubc.ca. It is, of course, beautifully illustrated, and it has all kinds of information there. I'm particularly excited about the idea of having transit stations for rapid rail that will get people seamlessly and easily to the campus. In conclusion, let me say I'm very optimistic about where the university is. I feel that I am to be here for the blink of an eye. As you know, there is a search going on. It is a wonderful group of people who stood up to be part of the search committee, chaired by our Chancellor, Stephen Point, and I know that they are very actively and busily looking for the next president. My hope is that that person will be in place in the fall, even sooner, perhaps, but certainly for the fall, for the start of the year. The position is advertised. Do you know anyone? So very grateful to have the opportunity to be here with you again, and look forward to this rather unexpected opportunity to be part of this community for another year of my life. Thanks.
Thank you, Deborah. We're going to give you about 10 minutes to come up with questions and things like that, and time for Deborah to get some dessert maybe and coffee. But I'm reminded actually by you of that moment when we had Martha Piper come, and I think I remember checking with her. Is it okay if I call you UBC's biggest cheerleader? Because I didn't want to insult her inadvertently somehow. I said, oh no, I was a cheerleader in high school, and she was young in Michigan. She said, I'm happy to be UBC's biggest cheerleader. And in some ways, I think we heard in your comments, Deborah, that you came back to help cheer us through this period, an interim period, and to talk up the university and get things done. So it's so much appreciated that you're doing that. I think for all of us, it's been I think we can all admit it's been an interesting transitional time coming back to campus, with being at home for a year and a half, 2 years for some of us, or working from home, or all kinds of arrangements. So there's a lot of, I know, discomfort with change. Changes are coming, have been coming whether we want them or not. So it's great to have someone with experienced hand on the helm, as they say. Time to come up with some questions and things, and we'll ask Deborah back up. But I wanted to thank our hot lunch committee. I won't do it from memory because I'm getting to that age where I will forget someone. So again, first Stacy, Barbara, Denny, Joanna from St. John's, who put together each month hot lunch. Eilish Courtney, who still, although retired, she also was dragged back to be a liaison with Musqueam UBC Special Projects. Shauda Maresk, I see over there, who is the director of the Office of the Vice Provost International. Thanks also for serving. Shirley Nakata, Ombudsperson for Students. Andrew Parr, Associate Vice President for Student Housing Services. I thank all of them for continuing sort of volunteer work. This is oftentimes the best of us do this as part of our job, but we are all finding meaningful work to not work. We find it meaningful to, but it doesn't seem to be working to arrange these hot lunches. So, so we'll take a little break and then, a lot of paper she's holding, so she can get to most of them. But yeah, Deborah.
Thank you. Well, actually, there's some questions. I'm trying to give quick answers. Who is Clay Dixon? So his question is, actually, I talked to the DAE people. I did a video call and had a chat with them. I talked about, someone asked me a question about what I've done. I confess that I've done some motorsport. So the question is, what is it like to drive a Lotus 7? This is a car with sort of basically open wheel, flaps the doors, small British racing car, And yeah, I handled with engineers while I was. It was awesome. And these engineers were, engineers, but they had really interesting cars. So I got to drive a few interesting. Lotus 7 is the hairy one. Yeah. But I drove an Aston Martin. That was kind of fun. Cool. Anyway, it's awesome. Totally uncomfortable. Incredibly noisy, and the water comes in both when it's raining, which it does in England a lot. It comes in from underneath, off the road, and from on top. So it's like taking a bath in dirty water. I don't do that anymore. This is serious. How will the university address the affordable housing crisis? This is obviously the affordable housing crisis is huge, Canada-wide, and it's not just us. But we do have a special opportunity and privilege with our land, and with the fact that we can and are developing housing. Right now, we are the largest renter of accommodation in British Columbia, and that's because of our extraordinary investments in student housing. But we've realized that we need to do a lot more. And that plan that's being developed, I encourage people to look at, the 2050 plan, will include a lot of below market housing with both purchasing models and for rentals as well. So we are working on it. There are very interesting conversations going on around the province about what we need to do to address affordable housing as a province. It's much bigger than UBC, but people are thinking about it. And I think a couple of things. We need some changes in legislation about planning and about the actual funding of housing. But it's hard for us to have what people call co-op housing here. But there are things that need to change in that way. There are things that we can think about in innovative design. And we can also think about different ideas about housing. I can remember visiting my grandparents' houses. They lived in what was public housing in England called council housing. It was very small. They both had outside toilets built onto the house, but they were outside the kitchen door. We have come to have very, very high expectations of multiple bathrooms and garages and so on. And I think there has to be a reset. If we want sustainability and we want access, we're going to think about having smaller, more modest housing. So we're thinking a lot, and we are doing in terms of the plan, and we continue to build on the campus as well. Are there lessons to be learned at UBCO that staff at UBCB can implement? It's an interesting question. There are many, so the way the campus has grown, more and more connections go across. We have 3 faculties that work on both campuses: medicine, applied science, and the Faculty of Education have schools on each campus. So there's a lot more crosstalk going on today than there was 17 years ago when the campus began. I think the Okanagan campus has learned to do things with less money because there is less money on that campus. And as we look at tightening budgets, which we are doing across the province because of limited government funding and an inflationary environment, I think there are lessons that can be learned. And I think one of the things is that, I'll be honest, because I know you won't tell anyone, but UBC hasn't had to make hard choices on this campus. And so it continues to do some things, perhaps not in the most effective and efficient ways. And I think that what we will be doing going forward is starting to ask questions. Do we need to be doing this the way we've always done it? Can we make efficiencies? Have we learned in COVID that we could do it differently? And so I think there will be some ways that we will take advantage of the differences on campuses. This is an interesting question. How do you see community engagement as core to the university's mandate, teaching, learning, and research? Well, I'm going to give you a personal example of my own work. So my own research work is in agriculture. And for a long time, I worked on 2 sort of separate things in my mind. One was on making fruit crop management more efficient, making more productive, using less inputs. And the other was breeding strawberries, new varieties of strawberries. Now, no one's going to feed the world by breeding strawberries, but it was a heck of a lot of fun. And our strawberry varieties became the most widely grown in Eastern Canada. So it was a successful program. So community engagement for me as an academic really was the work with the farmers who I worked with so that they would understand and consider adopting these new kinds of things, technologies, management, and varieties. And I think a lot of our community engagement comes out of the research and scholarship we do, whether it's in social sciences or education or health or philosophy. That's the foundation for me of what the university should be doing in the community. So it's directly linked to our academics, our scholarship, and the programs that we run and so on. And of course, we want to have positive impacts in the communities. So I will say that, and this is an interesting difference between the two campuses. The local government, the municipality, the neighbors love UBC Okanagan because they actually can remember a city without having the university there. No one alive in Vancouver today can even imagine what this place would be like without UBC. So they don't have that sense of immediate sort of wow and gratitude that we are there. But be assured, without UBC, Vancouver would be a very much poorer place. Right. I think I may have almost come to the end here. Oh, and it's my last question after this. What are my first plans when I return to retirement? And a piece about it. Maybe I might. Yes. All right. My first plans. I think it will actually be to just sit around and look. I live in Kamloops, small town in the interior. I have a house there which looks up the North Thompson River, and I have a garden. I love to garden. Is to get up on a Monday morning and not get on a 6 o'clock flight, but sit on my back deck and just look out at the mountains. That will be heaven. It will be really nice. Thank you. And one piece of wisdom. You know, it's come up in several conversations, but we have important work to do, and we should be brave about doing that work and not afraid to make mistakes. We can't win all the time, but if we go from a place of values and understanding of what we're doing, it's okay to occasionally not get it right, but always have that, you know, we're going for that goal. And I'm more and more convinced of that since I've come back, that UBC needs to stay true to its vision and move boldly forward. UBC. Go Birds.
Thanks so much for coming, sharing. You know, even though your time may be short to this, unless you really come back out of retirement to become our next president. But we appreciate both your sharing with us in that temporary small house. As you know, helping us think of that bold vision and that bravery that it takes to see changes that need to be made and to actually address it versus not my job, don't have enough energy, someone else's responsibility. Often in my own excuses, crutches when I want to see something. So thanks for those inspiring words. Thank you again, everyone, for coming to Hot Lunch. As the weather gets better, hopefully our big windows, you'll still want to come here and enjoy the weather next month. Next month we have Norgene is coming to share about well-being and health and a lot of initiatives that many of you are also involved with. So look forward to that. I don't know what is on the menu, but it'll be good. So thanks again to Chef Clarence and Chef Seifu and our kitchen staff for providing a hot lunch. Whole rationale for why we're here. But thank you again on behalf of all of us and the committee, to Deborah Buszard for coming and for sharing. And I didn't explain her research background, but I think in all your remarks also that sense of growing and tending and nurturing, and that as a very organic metaphor for what we all do here, which is we're growing people, both in terms of the students and they become alumni, and but some of us also as staff and as faculty. But this should be a place where we grow as well versus stagnating or feeling blocked or feeling like you're growing grass with a block of concrete on top. So bravery, thank you. Thanks.